Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming OCS exams happening in May 2026. My name is Nicholas and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to highlight the technicalities behind your OCS exam because I'm sure for most of you, this is your first CIMA case study. And because of this, it's essential that you gain an in-depth understanding of how your knowledge is tested, what you need to know in order to pass this exam comfortably. That is why I'm going to highlight the technicalities behind this examination. And then I will also take you through an 8-week study plan, thereby explaining what you need to achieve in the upcoming 8 weeks. Because as you know, the pre-scene, which is relevant for May and August OCS exams, will be released on Friday by about 10 a.m. UK time or 10 GMT. You will get your hands on the new pre-scene, which is relevant for May and August. So from the pre-scene release until your examination, there's something like 6.5 to 7 weeks at your disposal. So it's essential that you gain an understanding of what you need to do on a weekly basis in order to pass this comfortably, because most students wait until the last 2 or 3 weeks to start their preparations. But when this is the case, there's too much to get done within just 2 or 3 weeks. And due to a lack of time, most students walk into the exam not really being prepared, not giving all the effort in terms of preparation, and because of that they end up failing this exam. So it's essential that you start right now. So with that in mind, I'm going to share an 8-week study plan with you towards the very end of today's session. So before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you. So as I mentioned earlier, there's something like 7.5 to 8 weeks until your exam from today. So focused on each week, we have scheduled a webinar or a workshop, and each of these webinars and workshops are conducted free of charge on a weekly basis. So the next webinar, which is an important one, is happening on Friday, the 20th of March. This is the day on which your pre-scene will be released. So coinciding with your pre-scene release, we are conducting a pre-scene analysis at 17 GMT or 5 p.m. UK, in which I'm going to conduct an industry analysis, and then I will take you through the pre-scene, thereby highlighting the most important elements which appears within the new pre-scene, which will be released on Friday. And then I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques in the third webinar. This is an important webinar as well, because if you are clueless of how to structure your answers, how to approach each question, and how to determine how many points you need to include, how many answer points you need to include under each subtask based on the weightages provided, then you are going to struggle at your exam. So all these things will be taught in depth at the third webinar, in which, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques, and I will also explain how to implement these techniques in a practical manner by taking you through a mock exam, thereby explaining how you should structure answers effectively. And then in the fourth webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. It's essential that you manage your stress levels in this exam, because the CIMA examiner is not just testing your theory knowledge and application skills. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you are capable of managing stressful situations, because in this exam, you have to sit in one place across 3 hours and attempt 4 sections, one after the other. You will be somewhat comfortable in the first 2 sections, but from section number 3 onwards, fatigue sets in. And with this, you will be exposed to extreme levels of stress. So it's essential that you understand how to manage these type of stressful situations. If not, you are going to panic during your exam. And when you panic, you are definitely going to run out of time. When you run out of time, you are going to repeat this examination. So in the fourth webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. Along with the stress management techniques, I'm also going to take you through the exam blueprint, thereby highlighting examiner's comments, because it's essential that you understand what the examiner expects from you. And once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting our workshop and masterclass series Each workshop and masterclass is dedicated towards the F1, P1, and E1 pillars. So in the first workshop, I'm going to take you through the entire syllabus of your F1 syllabus and also conduct a masterclass which is focused on one of the subtasks taken from mock exam 1. I will be explaining how we should approach a certain F1 related area and therefore how we should effectively structure your answer. Similarly, I'm going to conduct a masterclass focused on P1 and E1 as well. And in the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before your examination, I'm going to share last minute tips with you to make sure that you are calm and composed before the exam, to make sure that you are confident about your skill set. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you believe in yourself, if you are confident before the exam, you will be confident at your real exam. So all these things will be taught on a weekly basis in the upcoming weeks. So make sure to attend these webinars and workshops, which are conducted free of charge, so that you'd learn various technicalities behind your exam. And at the same time, if you have any questions, you can get them addressed in each of these weekly webinars and workshops. So having said that, let's try to understand how students end up facing this examination. So there are a set of students who are coming through the CIMA general route, or you can call it the traditional route as well. So these type of students find this exam to be somewhat all right, given the fact that they have learned their E1, F1, and P1 related theoretical elements. So in a little while, I'm going to talk about how theory heavy this examination is. Since this is a theory heavy examination, since you have learned your E1, F1, and P1 through your OTQ examinations, you are going to find this exam to be somewhat comfortable. But when you look at the other set of students who end up at the OCS level, these are the set the individuals who are coming through the FLP or the finance leadership program route. So these type of students, since they have knowledge gaps, especially concerning P1 and F1 elements, they are going to struggle a bit in this exam. But don't worry, even if you're coming through the FLP route, we have made sure to include some additional resources with the prime intention of teaching you all conceptual elements and at the same time teaching you application so that you won't have to struggle at your exam. So success comes down to you being conversant with the entire syllabus. Success comes down to you significantly improving your application skills. So irrespective of whether you are coming through the traditional OTQ route or the FLP route, we have come up with study resources to suit each of your needs. So if you put in the effort and if you stick to the study plan, even when you are walking into these OCS preparations with knowledge gaps, if you're coming through FLP, you need not worry. In the upcoming 8 weeks, we have developed a process in which you are going to learn all conceptual elements and at the same time significantly improve your application skills. All right, so these are the type of students who end up at OCS, and let's try to understand how your examination is structured. So as you know, this exam is 100% PC based. You have 2 options at your disposal when it comes to attempting this exam. You can attempt this exam at home, or you can attempt this exam at an examination center. So my recommendation is, if you are facing frequent power outages, if you are facing some difficulties in terms of internet speed, then do not attempt the exam at home. Instead, attempt the exam at an examination center, because if you face any technical difficulties, then there's an invigilator who is supposed to help you. Even after attempting your exam at an examination center, if you still face major technical issues, you have the opportunity of sitting the exam a week later. So you're not going to get the same paper. It's going to be a totally different variant. However, you have the opportunity of attempting the exam a week later rather than having to wait until the next round of exams, which happen, the next round of exams commence, which happens somewhere in August. So what you need to remember is, if you have internet outages and power outages, if you're experiencing these things at home, then don't attempt the exam at home, attempt it at an examination center. Even after doing so, if you face any technical issues, you still have the opportunity of attempting the exam a week later. And looking at the time allocation of the entire paper, you have to sit across 3 hours and attempt 4 different sections, one after the other. And as I mentioned earlier, the exam is divided into 4 parts, and the time allocation for each part is 45 minutes. So let me quickly explain what this is all about. So as you can see in here, your entire paper is divided into 4 different sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see that the time allocation for each section is 45 minutes each. And within each section, you will see 2 or 3 subtasks. So if you look at this paper, there are 3 subtasks each within each section. So that's exactly what you can see in here. Section number 1, we are in section number 1. The time allocation is 45 minutes. And how many subtasks are there? There are 3 subtasks: subtask A, subtask B, as well as subtask C. So these are your requirements. This is the way in which your knowledge is tested. All right. And the examiner intends to create or replicate a real-life corporate environment when testing your knowledge. So that is why in most instances, you will see an email format. It's as if you are receiving an email from your superior, who is going to be a finance manager of your company or the head of finance of your chosen organization. So this is a mock exam which I developed for the previous sitting. So as per the previous sittings pre-seen, the you were supposed to report to the head of finance. So that's why you see that you are receiving this email from the head of finance, and there's some type of a scenario which is highlighted within this, and on top of that, some additional information is shared with you via reference material. You will see 1, 2, or 3 reference material per section. So if you look at this section, there is just 1 reference material, but in certain sections, you will see multiple reference material. It could be 2 or 3 reference material. And this is exactly what happens at office. When you receive an email, if the sender wants to share some additional information with you, he or she will attach something to the email. So that's the exact same methodology which you can see in here. The reference material are akin to attachments which you'd see at office. So as I mentioned earlier, the examiner tries to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So in a real-life corporate environment, when you are responding to an email, you are not supposed to explain theories. Instead, you are supposed to apply the theoretical knowledge which you have learned via your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi, and use it to come up with a high-quality response, a high-quality answer, or a high-quality recommendation. Okay, so you will understand how to do these things in the most effective manner when you attend the upcoming webinars, especially in the 3rd webinar. I'm going to teach you answering technique. Then you will realize how to deal with each theoretical concept and how to deal with application with the intention of understanding how to utilize the knowledge which we have gained via E1, F1, and P1, and how to apply these knowledge elements with the intention of developing practical answers. Okay, so this is how your paper is going to be structured. And in order to pass this examination, you need to score 80 out of 150, or as a percentage, you need to score 54%. So even if you screw up half your paper, you still can pass this examination. So that's why it's essential that you gain an awareness of how each conceptual element is tested, and at the same time, you take steps to significantly improve your application skills. All these things can be achieved if you stick to our study process, which I'm going to explain in a little while. So that's how the exam works. And let's try to understand what type of a role you are supposed to play in this exam. So as I mentioned earlier, the examiner is testing your practical application skills. So that is why the examiner has created a real-life corporate environment, or replicated rather, a real-life corporate environment. So it's as if you are working for a certain company, and you are supposed to play the role of a finance officer working within the operational level of your chosen company. So if you look at a typical organizational hierarchy, you know for a fact that it is divided into three main elements. At the very top, you get the board members, or you find the strategic level. So these board members are involved with strategic decision making, or they are involved with coming up with plans concerning the long run of the organization. So as board members, they are supposed to adopt something called an outside-in approach when it comes to decision making. What is an outside-in approach? These individuals, before they finalize their decisions, they must take into consideration how their decisions are going to impact the industry dynamics, how various players within the industry are going to react to the decisions these board members are supposed to finalize. For instance, if we take a certain decision, how it is going to impact our competitors and therefore how they are going to react to it, how these decisions are going to impact our connected stakeholders such as our shareholders, then the customers, suppliers, and whatnot. And on top of that, they have to be considerate about how these decisions are going to impact and change the internal dynamics of a chosen organization. So that is what an outside-in approach is all about. They have to first think about how their decisions are going to impact the players within the external environment or within the industry. So these guys are involved with long-term decision making. So they will take decisions concerning what we are supposed to achieve in the upcoming year, upcoming 3 years, upcoming 10 years, and whatnot. And when it comes to those who are at the operational level, these are the individuals who are involved with implementing these decisions on a daily basis. For instance, if the board members or individuals at the strategic level, let's assume they plan to achieve sales growth amounting to 10%. So if you are to achieve a sales growth which amounts to 10% in the upcoming year, someone has to start implementing plans on a daily basis in order to achieve a 10% sales growth after 365 days. So that is where you come in. You are at the operational level. You are involved with implementing the decisions which are arrived at by the board members of your chosen company. So as an individual who is involved with the day-to-day running of the company, you are not supposed to take any decisions. Instead, your role is to assist decision makers. And talking about the management level employees, the management level creates the link between the strategic and operational level employees. So those at the top, they come up with decisions, and it is the responsibility of the management level employees to, break down these decisions and communicate these decisions to operational level employees. That is why these management level employees will set KPIs, come up with monthly, weekly, and daily plans. And always the management level employees are supposed to check whether the operational level guys are doing their job properly or not, because however much well versed our board members are, if our operational level employees are not doing their job properly, if they are not implementing the plans, then nothing gets done within an organization. So I just wanted to explain, how a typical organization works so that you'd gain a better understanding of what your responsibilities look like. So in a nutshell, you are not supposed to play the role of a decision maker. Instead, you are supposed to assist decision makers. So at this stage, your theoretical knowledge is heavily tested. And when it comes to practical decision making, it's going to be extremely limited. The type of questions in which your decision making capabilities are tested are simply in terms of suggesting key KPIs or key performance indicators. When I take you through the mock exams, you'd understand what I'm talking about. In this exam, you are supposed to suggest KPIs concerning various different departments, various different activities which occur within your chosen company. Other than that, you are not supposed to be involved with decision making. As I mentioned earlier, you are supposed to assist decision makers. So since this is a theory heavy paper, let's try to understand what type of conceptual elements can be tested at the exam. So I'm going to take you through the syllabus coverage document, which I developed for the previous pre-scene. And in terms of P1, Anything to do with variance analysis will be tested. Any of these variances will be tested. You are not supposed to do any calculations, but all the facts and figures will be shared with you. Your job is to evaluate or conduct evaluations or conduct explanations based on the numbers or the facts and figures which are shared with you. So if I explain this point, I just want to explain, how your exam works. So if you look at this question, so in here, you can see a question tied to production variances concerning production overhead. So there's variable overhead expenditure as well as fixed overhead expenditure variances given, and variable and fixed overhead efficiency variances given, and the fixed overhead capacity variance given. So as I told you earlier, you are not supposed to do any calculations. The calculations related knowledge is tested at the OTQ stage. At this stage, you are not supposed to compute anything. Your job is to explain each of these variances. So this is how the requirement looks like. Explain what each variance means and the possible reason for their occurrence. So that's what your requirement is. So at this stage, you are not supposed to do any calculations. Instead, you are supposed to explain variances. So that's in terms of variance analysis. So all these different types of variances which appear within your P1 syllabus can be tested. And also everything to do with budgeting and controls will be tested, because at the lowest level, at the operational level, budgeting, variance analysis, and control related knowledge is tested. So you should know what a principal budgeting factor is, the differences between various different alternatives to budgeting. You should know the current budgeting system in play at your organization, and opposed to the current budgeting system, you should know what the alternatives look like and whether each of these alternatives are going to be suitable for your chosen company. And on top of that, your knowledge concerning costing and pricing can be tested. So you should know the current costing system practiced within your organization, and at the same time, you should know the alternatives and whether these alternatives are relevant for your company or not. And also, your knowledge concerning forecasting techniques will be tested. There are various different forecasting techniques which appear within your P1 syllabus. All these elements can be tested. And also, you should have the capability of understanding risks and managing these risks and uncertainties in the short term. So there are various different tools which appear within the P1 syllabus in terms of understanding risks and managing them in the short term. So all these elements will be tested. And also, your short-term decision-making capabilities will be tested. All these things appear within your P1 as well as your E1 syllabi. And as I mentioned earlier, you should have the capability of suggesting key performance indicators. And when it comes to KPIs, it's essential, before you suggest KPIs rather, it's essential that you gain an in-depth understanding of what happens within each and every department of your chosen company, each type of stakeholders your company is dealing with at the moment. Because if you have knowledge gaps concerning what appears within your pre-scene, then you are going to come up with generic KPIs. Generic KPIs are not going to fix problems the company is facing at the moment. And also, your knowledge concerning what's highlighted within your F1 syllabus can be tested. So everything to do with IAS 2, IAS 7, IAS 10, and IAS 16 can be tested. IAS 16 can be tested in multiple angles in terms of capitalization, how to depreciate, how to dispose of assets, when doing so, how to revalue the assets, and how to change the useful economic life and whatnot. And your knowledge concerning IFRS 5 and IFRS 16 can also be tested at the examination, along with taxation principles in terms of international taxation, how to compute capital gains taxation, and how to deal with general taxation. And also, an important element of your F1 syllabus is in terms of working capital management. As I mentioned earlier, as a finance officer, you are involved with the day-to-day running of the company. So working capital is all about managing day-to-day finances of your chosen company. So that is why working capital management is tested at your exam. And also, so these are the elements which you have to be considerate about, or you have to be aware and you have to have an in-depth understanding of how to tackle each of these conceptual elements if you are to pass this examination. So in order to simply, explain all these elements, it took me about 2 minutes. So if it takes me 2 minutes to just, mention what can be tested, just imagine how much effort you need to put in to be conversant with each of these conceptual elements. So that is why it's essential that you start right now, and you adhere to our study plan, because if you start right now, you are not going to be stuck for time by the time you are walking into your real examination. So in a nutshell, at this exam, you are supposed to play the role of a finance officer. You are not a decision maker. Instead, you are assisting decision makers. And on top of that, your knowledge concerning all conceptual elements covered within your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi is tested, and practical decision making is limited. Your decision making capabilities will only be tested when you are supposed to suggest key performance indicators. All right, then let's try to dig deeper to gain a good understanding of what the examiner expects from you. So in this exam, as I mentioned earlier, the examiner replicates a real-life corporate environment. So information is shared with you about a fictitious company via something called a pre-scene document. So you will get your hands on something like this. So this is the pre-scene which was relevant for the previous case study. So if you look at the table of contents, first things first, the examiner defines what your role is, what you're supposed to do as a finance officer. Then there's an introduction about your company. This part explains about the history of your chosen company, what it does at the moment, and what it intends to achieve in the future. And there is some type of information about your industry as well, because as a finance officer, you should have a generic understanding of what happens within your industry. At the SCS stage, at the strategic case study level, you have to have an in-depth understanding of industry dynamics. But at this stage, some generic information is shared with you, because as I mentioned earlier, you are not a decision maker. So since you are not involved with decision making, you need not have a sound understanding of how your industry operates. So there's going to be, a couple of pages concerning what happens within your industry. And then the examiner directs your attention towards mainly the internal dynamics of your chosen company. So there will be an extract from the website of your company, which gives you an indication of the mission of your chosen company, what type of products we offer at the moment, and what we intend to offer in the future, the type of leadership within the company. The examiner gives us an indication of the educational background as well as vocational background of our directors. And by understanding these points, we can predict what the company intends to achieve in the future. Then, most importantly, the examiner gives us an indication of what happens within various different departments of your chosen company. So everything in terms of what happens on a daily basis is divided into or carried out by various different employees in different departments of your chosen company. So it's essential that you gain an understanding of how your departments are structured, and at the same time, what type of responsibilities the employees within these departments carry out. Because these information highlight any issues within your chosen company, and based on these issues, these are actually hints shared by the CIMA examiner. So based on these issues, we can easily predict what type of scenarios can be tested at the exam. And also some additional information concerning how we manage our employees and the production process and whatnot will be shared with you. And also some additional information or other information will be shared in terms of internal dynamics or company operations. And towards the very end of your pre-scene document, you will see the financial statements of your chosen company, which includes the statement of profit and loss for the past 2 years, the statement of financial position for the past 2 years, and the statement of changes of equity in the past year. And also you will see the budgets, because at this stage your knowledge concerning budgeting, variance analysis, and the control environment will be tested. So the budgets concerning the upcoming year will appear at the very end of your pre-scene. And also you will see some news articles which indicate what we are trying to achieve in the future and how the industry is going to change. And based on these news articles, the examiner ends up developing 6 different variants or 6 different papers. So each paper will carry a single theme. All these 6 different themes are aligned with what appears within these news articles. So it's essential that you gain a good understanding of the content of these news articles, because by understanding these news articles, you can easily predict what can be tested, what type of scenarios can be tested at your exam. And finally, information concerning the tax regime in your chosen country will be shared with you. So, this is how your pre-scene is structured. I simply want to direct your attention towards one of the news articles so that you understand how important it is to understand what appears within these news articles, and based on the information, how you can predict the type of scenarios which can be tested. So as you can see, we have come up with tutor annotations. I'm directing your attention towards our annotated pre-scene. So on top of what appears within the pre-scene, we at TCS, we have come up with our own summary as part of thereby coming up with these annotations. And based on this information, we have highlighted the probable exam scenarios which can be tested, because as I mentioned earlier, based on these news articles, we are in a position to predict what can be tested at the exam. And when we know the exam scenarios which can be tested, we can easily predict the syllabus elements which can be tested at your exam as well. Okay, so it's essential that you decrypt pre-scene info. There's hordes and hordes of information. If you look at this document, it goes on for 33 pages, and there's a lot of information. That does not mean you have to remember all this info. You just need to remember the gist of things, the most important points. That's why we come up with tutor annotations, and we conduct our own analysis so that easily you'd gain an understanding of the most important points which appear within your pre-scene document. So at the exam, information is provided about a fictitious company via a pre-scene in advance, and at the exam, you will see, you will get your hands on an unseen document which consists of 4 different sections. So in a nutshell, the pre-scene gives you an indication of the past of the company, what the company was doing in the past, and it gives you an indication of what it intends to achieve in the future. But at the exam, when you get your hands on your relevant unseen, fresh information is shared with you concerning the current performance of your chosen company. So as per this pre-scene document, the costing system practiced by this company is standard absorption costing. So that's what the company believes in terms of costing. But if you look at this question is based on activity-based costing. So there was no mention about activity-based costing in your pre-scene. The pre-scene was highlighting a situation where the company was relying on an absorption costing basis. However, at the exam, current or present information is shared with you. So at a recent board meeting, the board has discussed shifting from a traditional costing method to activity-based costing. So this is fresh information. Based on the fresh information, you need to develop your answers. And when developing your answers, you should also remember what appears within the pre-scene, because that's exactly what you do at office. When you're working for a company, you need to have an understanding of what happens within your company, what happens within your industry. And on top of that, when you walk into office and open your emails, fresh information concerning any type of opportunity your company is trying to exploit will be shared with you, or any type of issue faced by your company will be shared with you. Your job is to consider the current information, align it with the internal and external dynamics of your chosen company and come up with a solution. So that's why your knowledge is tested in a practical manner, because the examiner tries to figure out whether you are in a position to apply your knowledge in a practical sense. So in the exam, you are required to address issues or questions relating to the operations of the company, as I mentioned earlier, and via this type of a case study examination, the examiner is testing whether you know what happens within your company. Because, for instance, if there's a costing related question, and if you're not aware of the current costing system practiced by your company, you are going to lose some marks. Alternatively, if there's a question tied to budgeting, if you're clueless of the current budgeting system practiced within your company, again, you are going to lose some marks. So you have to have a good understanding of the pre-scene, and on top of that, the examiner is testing whether you have the capability of applying your knowledge concerning what is highlighted within your E1, P1, and F1 syllabi. So you need to cover both these elements. You need to have a sound understanding of the pre-scene. That is why we are going to share an annotated pre-scene with you. That is why we are going to share a set of videos, pre-scene analysis videos. By watching these videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the internals, externals, and financial performance of your chosen company. So after understanding what appears within the pre-scene, then your next step should be towards learning each conceptual element covered under E1, P1, and F1. Just because you learn, you are not going to pass. Instead, you are supposed to significantly improve your application skills, because if you develop highly theoretical answers, you are not going to pass this exam, because that is not what we are expected to do at office. At office, you are supposed to come up with solutions, not explain theories to your superiors. All right, so that's an overview of the exam. And having said that, let's try to understand what you need to achieve in the upcoming 8 weeks. So first things first, it's essential that you attend the live webinars and workshops. As I mentioned earlier, each of these webinars and workshops are conducted on a weekly basis and are conducted free of charge. This is the best way to learn technicalities behind your exam, and at the same time, get all your questions answered towards every weekend. And also, you have to go through the annotated pre-scene, as I mentioned earlier. After you had gone through the annotated pre-scene on your own, in order to gain a sound understanding of the entire pre-scene document, watch the 3 pre-scene analysis videos, which you'd gain access to on Friday itself. So our 3 pre-scene analysis videos are divided into 3 main parts. In the first part, we have highlighted company operations. In the second part, we have spoken about the future of your chosen company, also directing your attention towards the budgets of your chosen company. And in the third and final pre-scene analysis video, we have conducted a financial analysis based on the financial statements which appear within the pre-scene. So after you have watched these pre-scene analysis videos, once you have read through the annotated pre-scene, you will gain a sound understanding of what appears within the pre-scene. So the first part will be covered simply by watching these 3 videos and going through or reading through the annotated pre-scene. Also, you need to refer to a set of slides as well, because we are going to share industry analysis, financial analysis, and financial analysis slides with you. So let me quickly show you what these resources will look like. So these are the set of slides which we developed for the previous pre-scene. So our industry analysis slides are divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we define the industry so that you gain a sound understanding of what this industry is all about. Then there's information concerning the competitive landscape, how competitors operate within this chosen industry. And also we have highlighted trends. Based on these trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And towards the very end, concerning 2 real-life companies, we have explained how typical real-life companies operate within your chosen industry. And similarly, we have conducted a financial analysis as well, thereby analyzing each financial statement, making sure to keep things simple so that you can gain a clear understanding of the financial situation of your chosen company. So we have evaluated the SOPL, SOFP, as well as the statement of cash flows. And then We have also conducted a ratio analysis, and we have made sure to evaluate each ratio in depth so that you'd gain a sound understanding of the financial standing of your chosen company. So these are the type of resources you need to refer. And then you also have to go through the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable syllabus elements which can be tested. And you'd also gain access to theory recaps as well. So I'm going to explain the study plan in a little while. Then you'd understand how and when you are supposed to use these theory recaps or OTQ revision cards. And also, you have to practice 6 exam standard and pre-scene specific mock exams. Why 6 mocks? Because as I mentioned earlier, the examiner can test anything which is covered in your E1, P1, and F1 syllabi. And if you look at the weight of the syllabus, the operational syllabus is the biggest out of all 3 syllabi. So if you look at the strategic level syllabus, it is the easiest because it is E heavy or enterprise heavy. So everything relies on or is focused on decision making. Conversely, if you look at the operational level syllabus, there are a lot of technical concepts covered mainly within your P1 and F1 syllabi. So this has a vast syllabus. You have to be conversant with all syllabus areas covered mainly within your P1 and F1 syllabi. So that is why the examiner ends up developing 6 different variants focused on each pre-scene. So if you had referred to past exam variants or past papers, you would have seen that the examiner developed 6 different papers. Why 6 papers? With the prime intention of covering the entire syllabus. So by developing just 2 or 3 variants or 2 or 3 papers, the examiner cannot cover the entire syllabus. That's why the examiner intends to, the examiner tends to rather develop 6 different papers focused on each pre-scene. So mirroring the same process, we have developed 6 papers as well. And when you go through these 6 mock exams, you will gain an understanding of how each syllabus area is tested. And when you know how each syllabus area is tested, when you're conducting your revision, you can take steps to significantly improve your application skills. So you have to make up your mind to practice 6 mocks. I've seen students walking into the exam simply by attempting 2 or 3 mock exams. If you're doing so, you are definitely going to be ill prepared. And at the same time, you are definitely going to test your luck, because before walking into the exam, you need to gain an understanding of how each conceptual element can be tested at your exam. If you know this, then you are in a position to figure out how to structure your answers appropriately or how to deal with application appropriately. And also, it's essential that you conduct revision, because just because you practice 6 mocks, you cannot pass this exam. You need to take steps to revise and fine-tune your answering technique, fine-tune or improve your application skills. That is why you need to refer to and redevelop answer plans concerning each of our mock exams. Okay, so these are the things which you need to achieve to pass comfortably in your upcoming exam. You might think that there's a lot on your plate. Yes, there's a lot, but we have come up with a study process in which we have done most of the hard yards. Your job is simply to stick to a 3-step approach when it comes to mastering each mock exam. Okay, so this is your to-do list. And let me quickly tell you what you need to do when it comes to structuring your answers, or when it comes to developing your answers. So as I mentioned earlier, it's as if you are receiving an email from your superior. So there's a scenario which gives you an indication of what the decision makers of your chosen organization are thinking about, or any type of an opportunity the company tries to exploit, or any type of an issue the company tries to manage at the moment. So as per this question, at the recent board meeting, we discussed shifting from a traditional costing method to activity-based costing. Currently, overheads are allocated using an absorption rate, which is based on labor hours. So this is highlighted within the pre-scene. So all the questions should be relevant to the pre-scene. And this approach is outdated, and I believe Samtrix's costing method needs a comprehensive overhaul. for more accurate cost reflection. Further details on production operations are available in the reference material. So as per the reference material, there's information about the production process. So the production process is divided into three main parts: component preparation, assembly, and then finishing and packaging. And the type of activities which occur within each of these departments are highlighted in here. So as per the requirement, you are supposed to explain how an ABC approach can be adopted for costing production overheads, production operations rather, and its benefits. So when developing this answer, your knowledge concerning activity-based costing is tested. So you should know, what an ABC system is, how it is going to be different from the current system, and what type of steps the company should adhere to when it comes to implementing ABC within the organization. And then your knowledge concerning application is tested. So I was talking about application throughout this session. So just because you explain what ABC is, you're not going to get marks. Instead, a major chunk of your marks are dedicated towards applying this concept, applying ABC to your chosen organization's internal dynamics. So that's exactly what you can see here. For each, as per this answer plan, this is what a typical answer plan or an answer structure should look like. So as per this answer plan, I've explained the cost pools tied to each of these various different activities, the cost driver, as well as I've come up with a justification as to why I suggested a certain cost driver. So in terms of collecting raw material and brought in items, you can see a cost pool, the cost driver, and justification. And in terms of CNC cutting and sheet cutting, again, you see the same structure: cost pool, cost driver, justification. And graphic application, same structure: cost pool, cost driver, justification. So this is how you should approach a question to do with ABC. So this comes down to application because you have to relate to the information highlighted in here: collection, wood cutting, cutting and other components, graphic application. So that's exactly what you can see within this answer as well. So you should spend some time to structure an answer plan or an answer structure which is akin to this. So you need to dedicate, within each section, you need to dedicate some time to develop something called an answer plan or an answer structure. And once you're done with it, then towards the final 15 to 20 minutes of each section, you need to take steps to finalize your answer in paragraph form. Although your answer plan should look something like this, your final answer should look like this. It should be in paragraph form. As you can see, you can't see any bullet points or single line sentences. Instead, I've expanded each point, expanded each elements of my answer plan, thereby developing paragraphs. So this is what your final answer should look like. So I'm going to explain all these things: how to develop these answer plans, and how to expand these answer plans in paragraph form, how to manage your time in each section. All these things will be covered in the third webinar, in which I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques. So after attending this third webinar, then you have to start your mock attempts. In a little while, I'm going to explain how you should approach your studies in the upcoming weeks. When I explain the study plan, you will understand what I'm talking about. All right, so that's what you need to achieve. And before I walk you through the 8-week study plan, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So as you can see, I'm on the OCS page, and on this, when you're on this page, you can check the free resources which will be available on Friday by clicking on this button. And if you're interested in investing on our paid content, you can click on this button and check the sample material. And if you're yet to join our OCS WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it, because via this forum, you'd gain access to free resources, free OCS study material. And at the same time, if you have any question, you can get them addressed instantaneously via this WhatsApp group. And we will also keep you guys informed of the commencement dates and times of the weekly webinars and workshops. And talking about what we offer 2 packages focused on 2 different sets of students. the essential course is focused on those who are coming through the traditional route. So as I mentioned earlier, since you have completed your OTQs, you already have a sound understanding of what appears within your E1, P1, and F1 syllabi. So you are going to find this exam to be a bit easy compared to someone who is coming through the exemption route. Okay, so via the essential course, you'd gain access to the recordings of all weekly webinars and workshops, 3 mock exams with suggested answers, which include 36 questions in total. Why 3 mocks? I said that if you are to be fully prepared, you have to go through 6 mock exams, which are intended to cover the entire syllabus. However, since you have already learned your conceptual elements via your OTQ syllabus areas, simply by attempting 3 mock exams, you are in a position to improve your application skills, which will ensure that you pass this exam comfortably. So if you're coming through OTQs, just having access to 3 mocks and conducting your prep focused on the same 3 mocks will help you pass this exam. And you'd also gain access to pre-scene analysis videos, 3 videos in total, the annotated pre-scene, industry and financial analysis slides. You saw what these resources look like a while back. You will also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, the case study familiarization kit. This familiarization kit explains the conceptual, the technical elements behind your examination. And also you will gain access to a tutor managed live chat. So by clicking on this button, you can purchase the essential course. And the value course, on the other hand, is intended for those who are coming through the exemption routes and those who had failed the OCS exam previously. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So with the intention of teaching you theory and application, we have included some additional resources under the value course on top of what appears under the essential course. So under the value course, you gain access to all of our mock exams, which includes 6 mocks with suggested answers. And we have made sure to cover 72 subtasks or 72 questions in total, with the prime intention of covering the entire syllabus. And also you will gain access to the OTQ revision cards. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you need to brush up your theory knowledge, you can do it in a jiffy by referring to our OTQ revision cards. And you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform, via which you can attempt each mock exam under exam conditions, because we have replicated the Pearson system, which you'd use at your real exam. So when you have the opportunity of attempting each mock under real exam conditions, this is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And also you gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams. These answer plans are extremely beneficial when it comes to revision, because at this exam, when conducting your preparations, your job is to significantly improve your answering technique and application skills. And the easiest way to figure out answering technique, improve application, is to get your hands on the answer plans. Then you will clearly see the logic behind each answer, how you should structure your answers, and how you should deal with application. And when you are conducting revision, your job should be to replicate these answer plans, because if you are in a position to replicate TCS's answer plans, you are going to get extremely good marks at your real exam. And the value course is priced at £249. So you can click on either of these buttons and invest on your preferred course. And if you're planning on sitting for the exams happening in August, don't worry. You can purchase right now so that you'd have some additional time on your hands to ensure that you significantly improve your knowledge as well as application skills. All right. So having said that, let me proceed with the webinar. So important dates. The exam entry closes on the 21st of April 2026. So if you're planning to sit for the exams happening in May, you have to book your place by the 21st of April 2026. Do not wait until the last moment to book your exam, because sometimes, depending on availability, if time slots run out, you won't have the opportunity of sitting for the exams in May. So there's absolutely no point of conducting prep and closer to the exam when you figure out that you cannot sit for the exam. This leads to frustration. So if you have already planned to sit for the exams happening in May, book your exam right now, because when you do so, you will definitely commit to the study plan. Because if not, you will wait until this deadline, and when you are closer to this deadline, you will think that you have not done your work properly, and you will postpone to August, and you will do the same in August and postpone to November. So there's absolutely no point of wasting time. The examiner intends you to conduct your prep within just 6 weeks or 6.5 weeks. That's a time period between the pre-scene release until your exam. So if you stick to a study plan, you can get everything done within just 6.5 weeks. So in order to commit to this plan, book your exam right now. Then definitely you are going to pull your socks and commit to this examination and get everything done by committing to our study plan. And the exams are happening from the 6th to the 8th of May 2026. And as I mentioned earlier, let me explain the 8-week study plan. Before I explain what you're supposed to achieve on a weekly basis, let me quickly tell you what you need to do to master each of the mock exams. So in order to master each mock, you need to stick to a 3-step process. So step number 1 is to practice each mock under exam conditions, to practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. So when you attempt each mock under exam conditions, you will encounter stressful situations. It's best to be stressed when conducting prep rather than facing these issues for the first time at your real exam. When attempting each mock under exam conditions, you will struggle with your answering technique. You will run out of time. I want you guys to experience all these difficulties when conducting your preparations rather than facing them for the first time at your exam. So when it comes to practicing each mock, the objective is to practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And after you have practiced these 3 techniques, the second step is to learn by reading or going through the answer plans, to learn theory and application. So when you read through the answer plans, as I mentioned earlier, you will clearly see how to tackle each conceptual element, how to deal with application, as well as how to structure your answers. You will clearly see how to structure your answers in a logical manner. So by reading through the answer plans, you are going to learn theory and application. And once you have learned your theory and application, then the third step is to revise. At this stage, you are supposed to take steps to redevelop answer plans on your own. So when you are redeveloping answer plans, you are trying to figure out whether you have gained something after you had gone through the answer plans. And once you have redeveloped answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCSs to figure out whether you still are missing out on certain points which you should have included in your answers. So you are not just supposed to attempt 6 mocks, you are supposed to master each of the 6 mock exams by sticking to this 3-step approach. So the 3 steps are to practice a mock exam. Let's assume you are attempting mock number 1. So practice it under exam conditions to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques, and learn theory and application by going through the answer plans. And then in terms of revision, try to redevelop answer plans on your own. Keep repeating this 3-step approach focused on each mock exam to ensure that you gain a sound understanding of how each conceptual element is tested, and that you significantly improve your application skills. All right, so let's try to understand how we're supposed to deal with this on a weekly basis. So as per the OCS study plan, which can be accessed via our website itself, we are in week number 1. So you are supposed to dedicate 8 hours of study time within this week. So you are supposed to refer to the OTQ theory recaps within this week. You can forget about E1 because E1 is not actually tested a lot at your exam. Instead, your exam is P1 and F1 heavy. So since the pre-scene is going to be released on Friday, until then, since you have some time on your hands, go through the P1 and F1 revision cards, and also refer to the OCS familiarization kit. So this week is dedicated towards learning theoretical elements covered within P1 and F1. You can still learn theory via the mock exams, but since you have some additional time, might as well use it without waiting until the pre-scene is out. And week number 2 will commence with the pre-scene release. As you know, the pre-scene is going to be released on Friday, the 20th of March. On the same day, we are conducting the second webinar. Then you will understand how to approach your pre-scene document. And then in order to understand the nitty-gritties highlighted within your pre-scene, watch the pre-scene analysis videos. You are going to get your hands on 3 pre-scene analysis videos. After you have watched these videos, refer to the annotated pre-scene on your own, thereby conducting your own revision, and also refer to the industry and financial analysis slides. So week number 2 is dedicated towards mastering or understanding your pre-scene document. So once you have learned what appears within your pre-scene, from week 3 onwards, you have to kickstart your mock attempts. So week number 3 is going to be the most hectic one, because if you see all the other weeks, you are supposed to simply dedicate 7 hours of study time. But in week number 3, you are supposed to dedicate 14 hours of study time. Why is this the case? Because within week number 3, you are supposed to, attempt and revise based on mocks 1 and 2. So week number 3, before you attempt any mock exams, attend the third webinar. This is when you learn your theory and application, as well as answering technique and time management techniques. And also, after you have learned these things, then kickstart your mock attempts by attempting mock number 1 via the exam platform. Then read through the answer plans concerning mock number 1 to learn theory and application, and then take steps to redevelop answer plans, thereby taking steps to refine your answering technique on your own when you're conducting revision. Similarly, stick to the same 3-step approach when it comes to mock number 2 as well. Practice your answering time management and stress management techniques under exam conditions when attempting mock number 2 via the exam platform. Then read through the answer plans to learn theory and application, and then redevelop answer plans to fine-tune your knowledge. Okay, so within week number 3, you are supposed to master 2 mock exams. That is why you are supposed to dedicate 14 hours of study time. But from week 4 onwards, things are quite easy, because you are supposed to simply focus on a single mock per week. So week number 4 is dedicated towards mock number 3. So stick to the 3-step approach to master mock number 3. Similarly, in week number 5, focus your attention towards mastering mock number 4. In week 6, you are supposed to master mock number 5. And in week 7, you are supposed to master mock number 6. So as you can see, if you stick to this study process, you are mastering, in general, a mock per week. And you are sticking to a 3-step approach in terms with the intention of mastering each mock exam. So you are not simply attempting mocks, you are taking steps to learn theory and application, and at the same time you are taking steps to revise. Because if you wait until the last 2 or 3 weeks to start your preparation, you will have time to attempt all 6 mocks, but you won't have time to learn as well as revise. And when you do not have time to learn, you are going to walk into the exam with knowledge gaps. When you do not have time to revise, you are going to walk into the exam with application issues, as well as issues tied to answering technique. When this is the case, you are going to panic during your exam. When you panic, you will run out of time. If you run out of time, you are not going to pass this examination. So that is why it's essential that you stick to the study plan and take steps to master a mock exam per week. If you do so, rest assured that you are aware of how each conceptual element is tested, and you know how to deal with application concerning each and every conceptual element. And if you stick to the study plan, in week number 8, which is your exam week, when all the other students are scrambling for time, you are supposed to relax, because you are supposed to attend our final workshop, in which I'm going to share last minute tips with you. I'm going to motivate you guys so that you will walk into the exam with a high level of confidence. You are simply supposed to refer to the answer plans of all 6 mock exams. A day or 2 before your examination, when you are going through the answer plans, it's as if you are going through the entire syllabus one last time, which is going to be crucial. And also, you are supposed to reread the annotated pre-seen one last time, refreshing your knowledge about what appears within your pre-seen document. And I want you guys to stop preparations a day or two prior to the examination. Sleep, eat, and rest well. So after putting in all the hard yards, I want you to take 2 days off before the exam. Hopefully you can achieve this. For instance, if your exam is on Wednesday, I want you to stop all your preparations at least by Monday. Take Tuesday off and walk into the exam with a fresh mind. Because if you look at all high performing athletes, all high performance in any field, you will understand the fact that they put in all the hard yards, way before a sporting event, or any type of, where if someone is doing any type of job, they put in all the hard yards in terms of preparation. And when they are getting closer to a heat or some type of an event, they take a break a day or two before, because it's essential that you relax. Because as per the CIMA examiner, as per what appears within your exam blueprint, if you are relaxed before the exam, you are going to be relaxed during the exam. If not, you are going to struggle with stress management. So at this exam, as I mentioned earlier, the examiner tests your theory knowledge, your application skills, as well as your stress management capabilities. So if you put in the hard yards as per the study plan, you are going to learn all conceptual elements. You are going to significantly improve your application skills. And when you take a break a day or two before the exam, then you are well poised to manage your stress levels during your exam. And also, when you know for a fact by the time you are in the exam week, when you know for a fact that you have attempted all 6 mock exams, you have read through all answer plans, you have taken steps to redevelop answer plans. When you know this, when you know for a fact that you have mastered the entire set of mocks, mastered the entire syllabus, you will definitely feel calm and composed in the final week. So I don't want you to do anything serious in the final week. Simply, you should focus on revision, and the only type of revision should be to go through the answer plans. You are not supposed to redevelop answer plans, attempt mocks and whatnot. All these things in terms of mastering each mock exams should be covered by the 7th week as per our study system or our study plan. Okay, so I hope you will stick to this process. Although I share these thoughts in each session, I know for a fact that most of you wait until the last moment to start preparation. When you start in the last moment, you are definitely going to panic a lot, because you know for a fact that there's a lot on your hands. So you will lose sleep, you won't eat on time, you will be moody and emotional. And this is not the best type of psychology you need to have before walking into a stressful exam such as the OCS examination. So it's essential that you stick to the study plan. So I hope you will start preparations right now. So invest on your preferred course and start your prep. Even if you have purchased from someone else, that's totally fine. Stick to this process. Stick to the 3-step approach with the intention of mastering each mock exam. Stick to the study plan and make sure to get everything done, complete everything by the 7th week. If so, in the final week, which is your exam week, you can start relaxing. Okay, so that's the 8-week study plan. You can access it via our website. So we are happy to say that we achieved a pass rate which came out to 96% concerning the exams which happened in November 2025. The results of the February 2026 session is not out as yet. The results will be released in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, our pass rates will be above 90% this time as well. And the highest scorer was Brad, who ended up scoring 119 out of 150. So as you know, the pass mark is 80. But this individual ended up scoring way more than the pass mark, ended up scoring 119 simply by sticking to the study process, which I highlighted a while back. So take steps to master each of the 6 mock exams. If you do so, you are definitely going to succeed at your exam, not just by getting 80 marks, but by getting more than 100 marks easily. Because compared to someone else, you are walking into the exam knowing very well how each conceptual element is tested. Why is this the case? Because you have covered 72 questions or 72 subtasks in total when conducting your preparations. So I hope you will stick to our study process and start your prep right now in order to achieve success, just like what Brad experienced. So having said that, it brings us to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop us a message via the chat. Any questions, folks? Did you understand what you're supposed to do in the upcoming weeks? Did you understand what this examination is about and how your knowledge is tested? Any doubts or any questions? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. Thank you for the positive feedback, folks. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or you can email us via info@study@tcs.com. So via our website, click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And also, if you need instantaneous support, you can always WhatsApp us on this WhatsApp number as well. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops will be uploaded to our YouTube handle. And via TikTok, once the pre-scene is released, you will get your hands on 6 videos, which is a good pre-scene mind map. So on a daily basis, you can keep watching these TikTok videos over and over, so that you need not do anything else to memorize pre-scene information. So if you watch these 6 videos on a daily basis, you will remember the most important points which appear within your pre-scene on the day of your exam. So I hope you gain something out of this session. So the concluding thought is to approach this exam as an opportunity to learn rather than an exam to pass, given the fact that the examiner tries to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So if you stick to the study process, which is to master each mock exam by sticking to a 3-step approach, you're definitely going to improve your knowledge concerning what is covered within your E1, P1, and F1 syllabi. And at the same time, you are significantly poised to improve your application skills concerning each of these syllabus elements. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you will join the second webinar, which is going to happen on Friday at 5 p.m. UK or 17 GMT, in which I'm going to conduct an industry analysis and a pre-scene analysis. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys on Friday.